Hi, you're listening to The Real Truth About You. My name is Will Sinclair, and this is a show about where we journey together to discover the real truth about ourselves and then apply that truth to living a full and abundant and very blessed life. You know, part of the thing about discovering the truth about who you are is being honest with yourself. And it's really true that you can't be honest with yourself unless you're willing to really look at yourself, face yourself. It's almost like looking in a mirror. And you talk to yourself and you tell yourself about yourself. And then you listen to that. So today I want to talk about being honest. I want to talk about looking in that mirror. Michael Jackson had a song and it was called Man in the Mirror, and it was all about living. I guess the song was a bit about living the truth of who you are. When you see who you are in the mirror, sometimes we refuse to look at ourselves, or we look at ourselves in the mirror and we don't like what we see. And sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves. When we look in the mirror is like a true reflection of who you are. It's like a snapshot of who you are. And if I was to be honest with my life, I am not the teacher. I am not the one who's on the show being the broadcaster and the one who's showing you, how to live your life. And here's how you do it. And this is what you do. Sometimes it feels like that, but that's not the way it really is. This is a journey we're on together. You and I, we're on this journey together because I'm on a journey as much as you are. And in this year, 2016, of August of 2016, I'm still recovering from cancer. I got cancer last year in my esophagus, stage 3, and I had major surgery last July. And even though my doctor says everything's favorable, you can almost say cancer-free, they don't say that, but I still find my recovery process from the surgeries and all the treatments to be almost a long one. And I got to a point where I felt that, I don't know, I was laying in my bed and I thought to myself, I'm always exhausted. I get this exhaustion, this lack of energy. And I thought I was doing good for a while. Then all of a sudden, this past weekend, I had this it was almost like a relapse into this lack of energy. And on the Monday night, I was laying in bed. And for the first time in my life, I said to myself, if this is what my life is going to be like, if I can't live a normal life, I don't even know if I want to live at all. But it wasn't in the sense of, okay, let's commit suicide and let's end everything. I guess it was just a realization of not being content of where I am. And it's funny because the last podcast episode I released, it talked about two things I mentioned was my wife Adrina, when she prepares couples to be together, and she always tells them, she says, don't rely on somebody else to make you happy in your relationship. Be happy first. And then the other thing I talked about in that podcast, the last episode, was to not rely on external things to make you happy, or other people to make you happy. Because what happens if that person disappears, or that thing, or that car, or that money disappears? That means your happiness disappears too. And one of the things, as I was laying in bed, I came into this, I was almost having I don't know if it was an anxiety attack or a breakdown, or I had to really focus on breathing and really center myself while I was laying in bed, because I was just having almost like this breakdown. And I came into this realization of having released that podcast, it was almost like it was speaking to me, and that I had to learn how to be content with where I'm at. That if all I can do is lay on a couch and watch TV, or I can't do anything but just sit, and then other days I have good days and other days I don't, But if I can't be content with that, to allow my body the healing, then I'm allowing externals to, I guess, create my happiness or my anxiety or my emotions. So I'm allowing my health to control me. I'm allowing my sickness or whether I'm good to control me. So when I'm good, I'm really good. You know, and I feel on top of the world. I'm doing things. I can podcast. Which is one of the reasons I started podcasting, because it was something I can do on my terms, on my time, when I feel good. And I'm looking at this whole thing about, okay, so I'm allowing all these external things, my health and how I feel, to control how I feel, basically. I'm allowing all these things to control how I feel, rather than me looking in and being content of where I am, allowing myself to be happy first. And I think a lot of that comes, that inner strength and that inner happiness and that inner positivity, that no matter how you are on the outside, and I'm not saying that you can't feel sick or you can't feel depressed and things like that, but it's when you allow external things to control you. And you have to come to this point where you are looking in the mirror and you're honest with yourself. This is where it's at. This is what it is until it isn't. I am sick until I'm not sick. And I've read a lot of things about, like, Wayne Dyer, who talks about the I am principles, and about saying I am healed. And sometimes I find that difficult. It's a difficult journey. Like, it's almost like believing yourself into something. And there's more to it that, and you would have to read his book, Wishes Fulfilled, if you want to really delve into that. And it's very much related to God. But I find on this journey, I cannot draw strength from anything other than God. That God within me, God without me. You know, I don't mean without as in gone, I mean on the outside. God on the inside, God on the outside. And I have to draw strength from that. I don't know, I honestly, if I'm being honest with myself, I don't know how somebody cannot live without that divine presence in your life to draw strength. But there is a sense that you also need to be honest with yourself. I had to be really honest with myself about, I find myself, maybe it's because of my childhood, maybe it's because of the abuse issues I had as a child, or no self-confidence, and now I'm 56 years old and I'm still finding that there's times when I'm really good and I make decisions and I'm really good at that, and I want to be a positive decision maker and action taker, and I'm a doer, right? And I find with this recovery process that a lot of that doing has been taken away. And I also find myself in, maybe it's in a dysfunctional kind of honesty, that if I was to own up to the dysfunction, I still rely sometimes on externals to make decisions for me, rather than me saying, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to accomplish, and this is what I am going to do. Sometimes I allow the externals to control my life. But what I'm really talking about here is being honest with yourself. Like, if you're a person, I used to wake up in the morning and be so angry, and I didn't know why. I used to punch holes in walls. I used to be so angry that I was beside myself. And I didn't even know what that anger was stemming from. In one of the other episodes, I talked about the iceberg theory, and it's usually things from your past that's coming up. Anger is like an expression of fear. But when you're honest with yourself, when you say, holy moly, I am angry, and you be honest that you're angry, and you be aware that you're angry, part of that leads to an inner contentment, an inner peace. Because if you're not aware that you're angry, then there's something wrong. If you get angry and all you can see is yourself and how things are not working for you, I have to be honest, if I'm really being honest with myself and being honest to you, because I can't expect you or us on our journey, I can't expect you to be honest with yourself if I'm not honest with you about myself. And this past weekend, there's been so many incidences where I've felt left out, where I wasn't called for a photograph like everybody was taking. I work at a camp for kids, and all the staff are having a photograph taken, and I wasn't called for that photograph because I was home. I was kind of sleeping. I was not having a great day. And so they just assumed that I wouldn't want to be part of that photograph. And I felt so left out. But I had to look at, why did I feel so left out? Why was that so important to me? Why was it so important that I was in that photograph? And why did I feel like I was being abandoned? Right? There's nothing wrong with feeling hurt or feeling abandoned. But why was I feeling abandoned? I didn't really have to figure out the why. I just had to be aware of the why and know that I felt abandoned, and allow God into my life to show me why I felt abandoned. Why I felt like, even this weekend, why I felt like I didn't want to live if I can't live a normal life, even though I know living is everything right now. Just being alive is everything. And I feel like right now I'm rambling, but maybe I'm just getting things out. And maybe in the process of me being honest with myself and looking in the mirror and saying, I am not a complete person. I'm not a perfect person. And I'm not a guru to turn around and tell you what you should and shouldn't do. But I am a person who can share my life. I can look in the mirror and I can say, well, I'm not a perfect person, and I do have a lot of faults, and I do have a lot of issues and areas in my life that I still have to work on. And in doing this podcast does not mean that I'm on top of everything and that you should listen to everything I say. One of the beauties about being able to share like this is that someone somewhere will get something from this. I found it very difficult sometimes when people go through things, but they don't share about what they're going through. They don't reveal how they're doing or how they're progressing on their journey. They feel like before they can share with somebody else, they have to be on top of their journey. And that's not where it's at. We're all vulnerable people. We're all vulnerable to each other, and we're all in community with each other. It's like we have this collective consciousness, and each one of us is one voice in that consciousness. And we all have something to contribute. You have something to contribute. Your life may not be perfect, but there's something about your life, even when you're going through your brokenness. People need to see your brokenness, because it's not only good for you, but it's good for them. If people judge you in your brokenness, then that is something that they need to work on. Because you can only control what you can control. You can't control what's out of your control. You can only control what you do. You can't control what others do. Everybody has something to work on in their life. And we're all wanting to move forward into a life that is full. Nobody really turns around and says, well, I just want to live a horrible existence and not feel good about myself. We find ourselves in that place. And sometimes that sickness of not being able to see how beautiful you truly are causes us to live and want to continue living in that comfort of that dysfunction. But that's not what life's about. That's not what this journey that we are on together is all about. You may have it all together, or you may think you have it all together, or you may have it all together. But we need to look in the mirror, and we need to look at ourselves, and we need to see beauty. Until you see beauty when you look in that mirror, whether it's a real mirror or the mirror of your life, until you see beauty in yourself, until you see that you are worthy, of life, then we need to keep working on our life. We need to keep looking. We need to keep becoming aware. We need to keep letting God into our life, seeing where God is in our life. There are so many things that have happened in my life that have been so good that I know it's only through divine intervention that that's happened. I feel like I'm rambling right now, but I feel like somewhere in whatever I'm saying, there is something that will touch somebody. And that's what my life is about right now. And so I'm on a journey the same as you. We're on a journey together. I want to encourage you to be honest with yourself, to be honest with your feelings, and to own who you are. To be comfortable in your own skin, knowing that right now we might not be perfect, but we try to live the truth that we know to be true right now. We try to live the truth about ourselves, and every day we uncover more. Every day, if you continue on this journey, you will discover more and more about you that is good and honest and true. You will become that painting that was created in beauty instead of the painting that's covered in dust and dirt and grime. We can remove all that as we move forward. Anyway, this has been my ramble for today. You've been listening to Will Sinclair and The Real Truth About You, and you can visit our website, therealtruthaboutyou.com. Remember, we're on this journey together, so I would encourage you and ask you if you wouldn't mind sharing this podcast, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with other people, if you would record it for them onto a USB stick if you have to, or a CD or something. And anyway, I love you lots. We're on this journey together. We're not perfect, but we're going to get there. And we are loved. You are loved. You are perfect. You're getting there, and you are perfect at the same time. Figure that one out. Anyway, I'm Will Sinclair. Have an awesome day today, and remember, you rock.